And hello, my name is Ray Lavery, and I just thought I'd do a short video here on the difference between gender identity and sexual orientation, because there seems to be a lot of questions on that. So I do bear with me, because I did a little PowerPoint presentation to try and explain this to you. I will do my very best, because obviously there are many different variations out there, but I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So let me just share my screen here and bring up the presentation. So just bear with me. That. Here we go. Slideshow from beginning. Okay, so move myself up there. Now, let's try and make it as simple as I possibly can. I'm not guaranteed to be able to do that, but I will try. So what I've done is I've created these series of graphs here. Now, these graphs are just an approximation. I'm not saying that this is exactly how it is for everybody. It's not. These are a little bit general, but you get the basic idea. And the basic idea is probably enough for you here. Okay, so the first thing is that people think that gender identity and sexual orientation is the same, and it is not. And also people are struggling with what the pronouns are for people based on their gender identity. So let's go through it. Now, this scale I just created my own head. I didn't get this from anybody else. It was just for me what I felt was a little bit easier to understand. Now, I've put some figures down here. You can see 0 and 100. So if somebody says that they are male, then they are 0, they're on the 0 end of the scale. And if they are female, they're at the 100 end of the scale. Okay, now in between, you'll see 0, 29, 39, etc., all 70 to 100. I made those up, right? They're just for an approximation to give you an understanding of where people are sitting, to try and make this easy. So it's not like I did a survey on the volume of people. I did not. I have no idea. Okay, so for those on, let's look at the male side of things. So those who identify as male, they might either be a cis male, so that was they were born male and their identity is male, or you could have an FTM, which is a female to male. That is somebody who was birth gender was female, but they have transitioned or in the process of transitioning to being a male. So FTM, female to male. Okay, those people will identify as he, him. Those are the pronouns that you use. As far as they are concerned, they are men. They don't see themselves as women in any shape or form. And there's sort of a wide variety, because obviously, if you look at the 0 end of the scale, you might have somebody who decides that he's a man's man, so everything is very, very male. And then slightly towards the other end of the scale, you might have somebody who's not necessarily effeminate, but maybe metrosexual, or doesn't see themselves out as, going to the gym every single day, building big muscles. That sort of thing is not important to them. So they don't identify as they are male, but they don't identify by, having a big muscly body. They're just men. Okay, so that would take care of the male side of things. Now, if you go to the other end of the scale and the female side, you have something very similar. So you have the women who were born as female and identify as female, and then you have MTF, which is male to female. That is somebody who was birth gender was male, but they identify as female, and they are either in the process of transitioning or they have transitioned to female. They will identify as she, her. Okay, again, you have every different type of women. You have the women who are extremely feminine and always wearing makeup and dresses and, all that kind of stuff. And then you have other ones who are happy to wear jeans and a t-shirt. They're not so interested in makeup or whatever. So there's various different versions of the types of female that will be, but they are still female. Okay, so whether they were born male and identify as female or born women and identify as female, same thing. Okay, they're just women. Now, you then have the non-binary. Okay, now I'm giving you the simple version of the non-binary, and then we'll work it out from here. So non-binary, non-B, as you can see, there's a little graph below stating that that's non-binary. These are people who are gender neutral. So they feel that they are neither male nor female. They are neither of them. They are just people. They don't have a gender. Okay, those guys tend to go by they, them, they, Z, Zir, or MX. So if they were going to fill in a form and it was Mr., Mrs., Miss, they prefer the option MX. Okay, so that takes care of that. So that would be the simplest version of that. Now, if we take this to another level, we then have non-binary is a much wider thing. So you have non-binary people who identify themselves as trans-masculine and non-binary who identify themselves as trans-feminine. What that means is they don't feel that they really are strongly male or female. They're probably more in sort of having none, but they might be erring towards a little bit more masculinity. So they might be just a little bit more into the he side of things, but they're still relatively androgynous, or they might be more feminine, but only a little bit more feminine. And so they are still non-binary, but they tend to display more feminine looks, identities. Now, the non-binary masculine is he, they. Okay, so it's he and they. And then the non-binary trans feminine is she, they. Okay, now look, there's a bunch of different ways that people identify themselves, but this would be the basis of it. Now, how trans masculine somebody is and how trans feminine somebody is, or how feminine they are, or how masculine they are, that's up to them. And this is a sliding scale. It's not one that stays the same. So you might have somebody who starts off and goes, no, I'm neither male nor female. But then as time progresses and they understand more how they feel, they might say, hey, I feel like I'm a little bit more masculine. So I'm on the masculine side of neutral. And so they will display a little bit, their identity will be a little bit more masculine. How masculine that could be is up to them. That's up to the individual. Okay, it's something that's very personal. There's no such thing as it has to be this or it has to be that. Every single person is an individual. Everybody sees it a completely different way. And so it's up to them to identify that. But they would tend to be in the he, they, or the she, they sphere. Now, on top of that, you also have gender fluid. Now, gender fluid are people who see themselves as both male or female, and depending how they're feeling on the day, they will identify as either male or female, or potentially as non-binary as well, potentially somebody who maybe doesn't want to be seen as either gender. So they could be going in either direction. Now, gender fluid is something that can happen very quickly. It could just be every day somebody changes their mind, or it could be something that is identified over a period of time. So to give you an example, I was talking with a person yesterday, actually, who was talking about being on the diversity team in a very large conglomerate. And they were talking about an individual that they had working for them that was basically, they said they called themselves non-binary, but they were really gender fluid. So on a Monday and a Tuesday, they would come in and they would be dressed as a woman, and their identity would be she, her. Then on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they would come in and they would be dressed as a man, and then they would be he, him. Now, what they did on the weekends was not discussed. Okay, so their pronouns were based on the clothes that they were wearing. That was what they preferred to do. Okay, so they were both. That is the gender fluid. So I know that one can be a little bit confusing. And again, it depends on each individual as to how they do it. But gender fluid means that it can change over time, whether that's a short period of time or a long period of time, and whether that is then fixed or something that is still open to not discussion, but open to change. Okay, so that takes care of the gender identity and the gender pronouns. The bottom line is, if you are confused and you don't know, ask somebody their pronouns and they will tell you. Okay, they will tell you what their pronouns are, because the pronouns can change depending on how a person is feeling at a particular moment in time. Okay, so that takes care of that. Now, that is gender identity and pronouns. Now, we're now going to talk about sexual orientation. And sexual orientation is completely different. Okay, it is completely different, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. But somebody's identity has nothing to do with the person that they are attracted to. The person they are attracted to could be along a wide variety of things, and that is completely irrespective of what gender you are. So if you are a straight male, or you are a woman who identifies as a lesbian, then you are attracted to women only. On the other end of the scale, if you are a straight woman or a gay man, then you will be attracted to men only. Okay, if you are a bisexual male or a bisexual female, then you're interested in both men and women. And it's up to you as to how much. Sometimes you're with women for a while, then you're with men for a while. It's, it's completely open, down to who you meet and how you're feeling at the time. You also then have asexual, and asexual are people who are not attracted to either gender. They are not sexually attracted to either males or females. Okay, they're roughly only about 10% of the population who fall into that basis, but they are there anyway. Okay, You then also have pansexual. Now, pansexual, again, not really anything to do with gender. They are attracted to the person that that individual is, not to the actual gender that they are. So if they find someone that they think is absolutely amazing, then they might find themselves being attracted to them, but it's not based on their gender. It's based on the actual individual. Now, again, the scale I made up. According to the Kinsey report, about 60% of people are bisexual, about 30% identify as straight, partly about 10% identify as gay or lesbian, and then another roughly 10 are asexual. Now, you do have other things such as fetishes, such as shoes, bestiality, all this kind of stuff, which is also naturally occurring, and there's not much about that. So I'm not going to talk about that one there. But that is to do with sexual orientation. That's just who you are attracted to. It has nothing to do with your gender identity. Now, this is the bit where people get a little bit confused. And I'll do my best, right? I'm probably going to make a mistake here, but I'll do my best. So when somebody changes their gender identity, does that change their sexual orientation? This is a big question that people ask. So let me just actually move the camera over there so you can see that. Okay, so if you are, for instance, a straight woman, okay, a straight female, and you decide to transition to a male, then it is likely that your orientation will still be to fancy men, and that being the case, you are now a gay man, okay? If, on the other hand, you are a gay man, so male, and you decide to change to becoming a woman, so you transition from a male to a female, that then makes you a straight woman because you are a woman who is now attracted to men, or in the other case, you are a man who is attracted to women, okay? So that is the basics. So you're not changing your orientation, but just by the fact that you have changed gender, your label on your orientation has changed, okay? So on top of that, you could also be bisexual, which means regardless of whether you are male or female, however you identify as a gender, you might be attracted to both men and women. On top of that, you could be asexual, which means regardless of the gender that you identify as, you might be attracted to nobody whatsoever. You are not attracted by gender whatsoever. Or you could be pansexual. So whether you are a man or a woman, then you could be attracted to anybody based on that person as a person. So it's the person that makes you attractive. Okay, so that's one scenario. Okay, so I hope I explained that well enough. You then have the opposite of that. So let's just say you have a lesbian female, so therefore a woman who is attracted to women, and she changes from becoming a woman to a man. She is now technically a straight man because he is now attracted to women, which makes him straight. You also could have a straight man, and a straight man who transitions to being a woman, but is still attracted to women. That would make her a lesbian female, okay? So again, it has nothing to do with the gender of themselves. The labeling changes, but who they are actually attracted to has remained the same, okay? On top of that as well, obviously, you still have both of those types of people who could be bisexual, so attracted to both men and women. They could also be asexual, and they could also be pansexual. Now, what I have noticed and what people have said to me, but not that often actually, is that when you are transgender and you're the actual experience of being transgender, it basically opens up a new way of thinking. It opens up new thoughts. It opens up new types of attractions to you. Okay, so for instance, you could be, say you are somebody like me who would have identified as a lesbian before, changed to be a man. I now identify as a man. I know I don't look like one right now, but it's on the way, okay? I am still attracted to women, okay? So even though I now identify as a man, I am still attracted to women, and women only, okay? However, I was thinking way back when that was going to be cisgendered women, okay? That was what I was going to be attracted to. But actually, as it turns out, all women are fine. So trans women are absolutely fine. And for me, my preference would be that they have completed all surgeries, but you never know, right? I'm open to the idea, but for me, my attraction is still to women, okay? Whether or not they have a penis or not, okay? Still to women. Now, what I understand from other people is that having had this experience of being more open and understanding sexual orientation and gender identity in a wider frame than a lot of other people, it opens up your thinking as to who you could be attracted to. There's a lot of people who have changed their orientation, or they have opened up their orientation. And it was, I think, personally, I don't know because everybody is different, that this was something that was always there. They had just never expressed it, and this gives them an opportunity to express it. Or in some people, they just have literally changed. Okay, if they are gay, then they stay gay. Okay, if they're a gay man, then they'll swap orientation, and when they change to being a woman, they are still attracted to women, which makes them a gay woman or a lesbian. So this is definitely people who have expressed that. Okay, so again, you just need to ask people. Okay, now the non-binary people could be attracted to either only females or either only men, or again, they could be attracted to both. They could be bisexual, they could be asexual, and they could be pansexual. Okay, so there's every different kind. The top ones here are the ones that I think that you're probably all struggling with, but the bottom line is that, again, everybody is different. It is impossible to fit people into tight, nice little labels, nice little groups. I know we all like to identify people by different groups, but that is not the case. It is sexual orientation and gender identity are two completely different things, but at the same time, there are obviously a lot of questions about it. And if you are interested in, when you meet somebody, you can ask them. You can just say, hey, who are you attracted to? Most of the time, that's not an issue. You know, you can ask people what their pronouns are. How do you want to be identified? What are your pronouns? In fact, please, if you meet somebody, ask them what their pronouns are, because you can never tell. You never really know if somebody is non-binary or you know, any of these, you know, gender fluid or any of these. So make sure that you ask, because that would be the polite thing to do. Okay, so I'm not sure if that has made this more difficult or easier. This was my attempt to be able to explain it to you. You might need to watch this video more than once in order to be able to get it, but I hope that it has helped you and it has explained a little bit how it works. But remember, gender identity and sexual orientation are not the same thing. Okay, thank you for watching. Take care. Bye.